What do you think you are doing? Right now, in this exact moment, as you sit there listening to my voice, what are you actually doing with the one life, the one career, the one set of dreams you've been handed? You're swinging. Every single day you wake up and you swing that invisible axe at your goals. You grind through meetings, you push through deadlines, you hustle late into the night, you sacrifice sleep, you sacrifice weekends, you sacrifice relationships, all because you believe that if you just swing harder, longer, faster, the results will finally come. But here's the brutal question nobody wants to ask you in public. What if you've been swinging a blunt axe the entire time? What if all that effort, all that sweat, all that exhaustion is producing less than half of what it could, simply because the tool in your hands has grown dull? Think about it. In a world that moves at the speed of a heartbeat, most people are still operating with yesterday's skills. They learned their craft 5, 10, 15 years ago and they've been repeating the same motions ever since. They call it experience. I call it slow suicide by repetition. Because the game changed while you were busy swinging. The doctor who refuses to study the new breakthrough drug is still swinging a blunt axe while patients slip away. The tech professional still coding like it's 2018 is watching AI eat their entire industry alive. The lawyer quoting the same old case law is getting crushed by the young gun who learned the latest precedents last week. The content creator posting the same format they used 2 years ago is watching their engagement drop to zero while new creators explode. The graphic designer using the same templates and same software is becoming invisible in a market that demands fresh, jaw-dropping work every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, stop. Right now. Close your eyes for just 10 seconds and let me paint a picture so vivid, so real, that you can almost smell the pine sap on your hand and feel the weight of an ancient axe in your grip. Imagine a land so immense it stretches the full size of the United States, not concrete jungles, not endless highways, but one unbroken, breathing, whispering forest that goes on forever. Towering trees stand like silent guardians, their trunks wider than cars, their canopies so high they touch the clouds. The air is thick with the scent of earth after rain, fresh cut wood, and raw, untamed possibility. In this kingdom, there were no social media likes, no filtered selfies, no bank balances that defined a man's worth. Here, strength was everything. And strength had only one language, the swing of an axe. They were called the axe cutters. Young men, and sometimes the not-so-young, proved who they were by felling trees. Handsomeness was never measured by facial features or perfect jawlines. No. In this culture, the most handsome man in the entire village was the one who could bring down the greatest number of trees in a single day. Every thunderous crack of wood splitting was a love song to resilience. Every giant that crashed to the forest floor was a loud declaration shouted across the canopy, I am alive. I am powerful. I am here to stay. Once a year, the entire kingdom held its breath for the Grand Axe competition. The prize was legendary, far more valuable than gold or jewels. The winner received gifts handed directly from the king himself, fertile land, prized livestock, the eternal respect of every soul in the realm. He was crowned the strongest and most handsome for the entire year. Young warriors trained for months in secret. They studied the grain of every type of wood, they conditioned their shoulders, they sharpened their blades until they could split a hair in mid-air, and they dreamed under the stars of standing on that victory platform while the crowd chanted their name. This particular year, something electric charged the air. Word spread like wildfire across the vast forest kingdom. Men began pouring in from neighboring territories, battle-hardened warriors, determined farmers, wide-eyed dreamers, almost 50 of them, all hungry for the crown. The organizers, feeling the surge of energy, decided to make the challenge truly legendary. They brought out the toughest, most unforgiving woods the forest had ever offered, iron-hard ebony that resisted every blow, twisted acacia with knots like steel cables, and ancient oaks that had stood watch for centuries, their rings telling stories older than any man alive. The rules were brutally simple. From the moment the sun rose until the moment it kissed the horizon, you cut. No breaks. No excuses. No mercy. Swing after swing until your shoulders burned like fire, your palms bled through the calluses, and your mind screamed for you to stop. Only those still swinging when the sun disappeared would advance. By the first sunset, the forest floor was littered with broken dreams. 46 strong men had surrendered, some collapsed in exhaustion, some sat nursing raw, blistered hands, others simply stared at the impossible wall of timber still standing in front of them, tears of defeat mixing with sweat. Only 4 remained. Day 2 tested the limits of human endurance. The sun beat down harder, the axes felt heavier with every hour, and the remaining competitors pushed themselves beyond what they thought possible. By late afternoon, 2 more warriors finally tapped out, their bodies unable to answer the demand any longer. Only 2 souls were left standing in the arena of trees. One was a young titan, broad chest carved like marble, rippling muscles that glistened under the sun, veins standing out like ropes across his arms. The crowd roared his name every time his axe landed. He looked like the future, unstoppable, invincible, the champion everyone had come to crown. The other? An old man. Grey hair catching the light like silver threads. Slight frame. Hands wrinkled and scarred by decades of honest labor. The kind of elder most people would offer a comfortable seat and a cool drink to, not invite into a death match of axes and timber. The crowd whispered in disbelief. The remaining young athletes laughed nervously behind their hands. Even the young titan kept stealing sideways glances, stunned. How is this grandfather still here? How has he outlasted all the young blood? The final round was completely different. No more daylight mercy. At sunset, the 2 finalists were led deep into a secluded, untouched part of the forest where the trees grew thicker than anywhere else and the night sounds were louder than the beating of your own heart. The new rule was announced in a voice that echoed through the trees. From sunset until sunrise. Whoever cuts the most wood by the first light of dawn will be declared the winner. They placed the young giant on the left side of the clearing. The old man on the right. Torches were lit and flickered like dancing spirits. The king himself sat on a raised platform, watching silently. The entire kingdom held its breath as darkness swallowed the forest. Then the axes began to sing. Thwack! 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 The young man attacked the knight with pure fury. Every swing was a statement of youth and power. He was faster. Stronger. Relentless. He poured every ounce of his prime into the trees, determined to bury the old man under a mountain of timber. But after a while, something strange began to happen. The rhythm coming from the right side, the old man's side, started to change. Thwack! Thwack, then complete silence, long, puzzling stretches of silence. Then suddenly, thwack! Thwack! Thwack again, faster, cleaner, almost joyful. The young titan smirked in the darkness. He's resting. The old fool is tiring out. This night belongs to me. Chop! The young man never stopped. Not once. He kept going through the cold hours, through the aches, through the doubt that began creeping in every time the old man's axe fell quiet. Finally, the first light of dawn painted the sky in soft pinks and golds. The competition ended. Both men were brought, exhausted and covered in sawdust, before the panel of judges. The crowd surged forward, torches raised high, hearts pounding with anticipation. The judges walked slowly between the 2 massive piles of freshly cut timber, measuring, counting, comparing. Then the announcement rang out across the forest, loud and clear. The winner is the old man. Gasps. Shouts of disbelief. Some people actually laughed out loud, thinking it had to be a joke. But when the piles were officially measured, the truth hit the entire kingdom like a thunderclap. The old man's pile of cut wood was more than twice the size of the young titan's. The forest fell speechless. The young man, drenched in sweat, chest heaving, pride lying in pieces at his feet, stepped forward. His voice cracked with a mixture of exhaustion, confusion, and deep respect. Elder? I have been here the entire night, listening. I heard you stop again and again. Long stretches of complete silence. How did you cut more wood than me? What secret did you use? Tell me the truth. I need to know. The old man looked at the young warrior with kind, tired eyes that had seen many seasons come and go. A gentle smile slowly creased his weathered face. He placed a hand on the young man's shoulder and spoke words that would echo through generations. My son, there was no trick. There was no secret magic. Those times you heard only silence. I was sharpening my axe. If you don't stop swinging long enough to sharpen your skills, upgrade your knowledge, master new tools, and refine your craft, you will spend the rest of your life working twice as hard for half the results. And the worst part? You'll watch others pass you by, not because they're smarter, not because they're luckier, but because they chose to sharpen while you chose to keep swinging. The forest is waiting. Your biggest breakthrough is waiting. Your audience, your clients, your future self, they're all waiting. But before I show you exactly how the greatest performers turn ordinary effort into extraordinary results, watch this scenario carefully. Listen with your whole heart. Because what you're about to hear is not just a story. It's a mirror.